Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Celebrity Natal Charts. Today, we're going to be looking at the natal chart of Idris Elba, born in London, England, United Kingdom, September 6, 1972, at 8 a.m. Birth time accuracy 4, it says. Idris Akuna Idris Elba, born September 6, 1972, is a British actor, producer, singer, rapper, and DJ. He is best known for his portrayal of drug lord and aspiring businessman Russell Stinger Bell in the HBO series The Wire, Detective John Luther in the BBC One series Luther, and Nelson Mandela in the biographical film Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. Elba has been nominated for 3 Golden Globe Awards: Best Actor in Miniseries or Television Film, winning 1 for his Best Actor, as well as earning 3 Primetime Emmy Awards nominations. Elba has appeared in films such as American Gangster, 2007, Takers, 2010, Thor, 2011, Prometheus, 2012, Pacific Rim, 2013, Thor: The Dark World, 2013. In addition to his acting work, he is a DJ under the moniker DJ Big Driss, or Big Driss the Londoner, and a hip-hop soul musician, which I had no idea about that. So welcome, grab a beverage. I'm wanting coffee right now. So it's actually really interesting. He is the Virgo rising Libra, so it's very interesting that he has like a somewhat studious, traditional job. I mean, you're in a studio when you're doing film, I guess, and music. But then also as a rising Libra, he's not really singing, but he's singing, so that all pans out. But so he's a first house in Libra, which first house in Libra means you get your self-esteem predominantly from your weight or how well you can sing or how good you look, as it is the sign of like aesthetics and relationships. So if he's like dating someone very hot and popular, it makes him feel good about himself. He has Uranus and Pluto in Libra as well. So Libra also or Pluto talks about like endings. So maybe one day he'll be like very pompous, and it might hurt him in some way. But then also Neptune or Uranus talks about like the boundlessness, or like breaking down borders, the glass ceiling, opening up doors. So it's like the way that he looks or the way that he portrays himself has opened up doors for him, as he's like the range to play like American Gangsters to Nelson Mandela, which I was kind of surprised. I don't know if he is Nelson Mandela in Nelson Mandela, but that's kind of like, I don't know if that's like the most accurate casting. And then so he has a second house in Scorpio, meaning that revenge fuels his finances. So I say revenge, but I think with like Scorpio and Aquarius, it's more like like social justice, like Nelson Mandela, where he like might have like a chip on his shoulder because of like racism, bigotry, apartheid, things like that. So like what fuels him, what is his cash cow, is like getting revenge for human polarities, like dark versus the light and things like that. It was also very interesting that he's like in all these Thor movies too, because that has some things going on with that. But his third house very naturally is in Sagittarius, which says to me that his early childhood environment was very competitive, maybe had like a lot of siblings or something. He also has Jupiter in Sagittarius and Neptune, so very lucky in these competitions, very lucky to have, I guess, like a British accent. It's very like posh and pretty. And then what else? Neptune in Sagittarius, that talks about him being on television and being successful at it and winning awards from being on television and from winning awards from casting illusions. And we saw that in his bio. Checks out. And then his fourth house is in Capricorn. So the third house, I say, it's like your childhood environment. Fourth house, it's like sort of like where you like to live. He probably likes to live like in a city with Capricorn in his fourth house. Probably like cold, distant to his mother. Very interesting that he like goes by his moniker as a DJ. Is listed as the town that he's from. So he's like, Idris the Londoner, and he prefers to live in the city. He's like a city mouse. Competitive, right next to City Mouse. And that's his fourth house. Talks about his feeling towards his mother. Maybe does business with his mom. Maybe never wants to do business with his mother. Has a lot of feelings about mom and women and business. And then he has a fifth house in Aquarius. So this is the house of, I would say, like ego. I guess like ego death. Um, the fifth house. And the sign of Aquarius is the sign of like friendship. So one of his biggest obstacles in life is like making friends, appeasing his friends, having good friends, not letting his friends get in the way. And then how he overcomes any, friends that might be trying to sandbag him is with his Pisces energy, Pisces in the sixth house, meaning the way that he heals himself, what he works on, I guess through prayer and the power of the Lord. He's able to overcome any frenemies, or I say the fifth house is like the house of sexy distractions. So maybe he has a lot of like attractions towards his friends that he needs to like say a couple Our Fathers about, so that he can like progress and have work and good health. And in his seventh house, he has Aries, which says that like his ideal perfect partner would be some angry Aries person. As Aries rules his seventh house, where he also has Chiron, which so many celebrities that I've chosen have Chiron and Aries, where it says like they need anger management. So maybe he's like a little bit of a diva, which it's like he knows how to help other people manage their anger, although he does not know how to manage it himself, which could be like really annoying. Like someone is like, you're coming off too angry, you're coming off too aggressive, and they're like yelling and being aggressive at you about it. And he has the eighth house in Taurus, which means that his want, wish, and desire in this world is to eat and to live on a farm, even though he's a city mouse. It talks about like finances, so maybe he's not too much into like occult spiritualism. He's like, my zodiac sign, how much money do I get for being my zodiac sign? How famous is that going to make me? Which a lot of people, especially like the acting world, they like do fake zodiac signs that are more like in alignment with their character. Like, if I was in The Lion King or something and I'm a new actor, I'd be like, I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo and I'm in The Lion King. Please buy tickets or whatever. So I guess like even though to him, it's like if he were like lighting spiritual candles or saying prayers, they'd be guided more towards like money, finances, and resources. And then his ninth house of education. So as I've been saying so far through this series and almost every video, which is almost like 300 videos strong. Maybe not, I don't know. It feels like a 5,000. I think it's going to be like 124 videos or something, if I know math, which I don't. That the ninth house actually governs your like long-term relationships, long-distance relationships, marriages, opposed to the seventh house, which is like affairs and friendships, I feel like. So this says that his best permanent long-term match would be someone who's a Gemini, where he also has Saturn, saying that is a limitation, so maybe he doesn't like Geminis, maybe he doesn't like to speak a lot, he is an actor. Maybe he's not very well educated in some shape or form, but the ninth house also does talk about like education and college, and there's limitations there with Gemini. So maybe there was already a long-term relationship that was sort of like messing him up through his early 20s, or to this very day, you never know. His 10th house in Cancer, which once again talks about like some type of like warring factors between him and his mother, and like, maybe his mom is like a free love type hippie type woman, and he wants more of a conservative, one of more conservative parent figures. And then even I guess like to be like an actor or like a rapper, your parents could be like fully supportive of that, and you're like, no, I need a villain in my story, I need someone to fight to be an actor and a rapper who's going to tell me I'm not going to make it, so that I can show them, so I can get my revenge money from my second house of Scorpio. You don't understand, Mom, you must be my enemy so I can get my revenge money. He also has Venus in Cancer, so he probably does like attract a lot of people that like resemble his mother, or the people that he dates seem like his mom. He's very attracted to comforting things. Like I think like Cancer, I think about like being at the beach because it's summertime, but I could also see it as being like a, I don't know, like almost like a Miss Doubtfire-y English lady that's like putting on tea and is all nice and cozy. His 11th house is in Leo, so he has a lot of famous friends. They help him out with his hair, which is good. I mean, like, to say that sounds very like shallow, but like in Hollywood, or London to be like an African American artist or actor, and it's like you have a lot of good friends who care about your hair looking good, is a huge plus. Ask Whitney Houston, ask Tina Turner, um, ask what's his name, Tyler Perry, yeah, Medea. As he had he's a really good wig, and he has Shamal Moore looking terrible in his movies. So it's good, I guess, if Idris Elba were ever in a Tyler Perry movie, which I don't know, he might already be, his hair would look good. Or he would have friends to make sure that they do, or they tell him that it does, even though if it doesn't. It also says, he might start doing Mint Mobile commercials too, because he's, really adept to technology, and that helps him make friends. So as Ryan Reynolds might be doing Mint Mobile to take care of Blake Lively, so that she could be Martha Stewart, Idris Elba might do it just to make friends, maybe with Ryan Reynolds. He also has a moon in Leo, so his go-to emotion, I guess, if you upset him or are mean to him, he'll remind you that he is famous. And it's not do you know who my father is? It's do you know who I am? And that's his 11th house of friendship in Leo, in the moon. And in his 12th house, he has Virgo. So Virgo, 12th house, is sadness, sorrow, self-undoing, misery, all those things that make you sad. And so Virgos kind of make him miserable to people who study things. So the first thing that comes to my mind, it's I don't know, if he's playing some character who's a Scouser or from Scotland or something, and he's not using the right slang or dialect that they use. The last thing that you want is some Virgo studier, researcher person being oh, this Thor movie isn't accurate to the myth of Thor, or this Pacific Rim, you're in the Atlantic, I can tell because of the way the water looks. It's makes them miserable, continuity errors and things like that in movies. And it's who knows that stuff other than some Virgo that's reading some book somewhere. But he's also a Virgo himself, which is kind of the irony here. His sun is in Virgo, his Mercury is in Virgo, his Mars is also in Virgo. So he sort of makes himself miserable, which happens. Not everybody loves themselves innately or intuitively. So maybe he hates the way that he might research or go over and beyond, what do you call it? Over the top or whatever, to do these roles, and then there are continuity errors. He's a Mercury in Virgo, so he sounds, talks, sings like a Virgo, raps. Virgos be rapping. Mars in Virgo acts like a Virgo, is aggressive like a Virgo. So if you make him mad, he'll throw a pen or a book at you or something. Or it's sort of it feels like an intellectual bully. You might see somebody putting together a science fair project, and he would tear it to pieces. Out of aggression. And yeah, so I mean, that's the thing though too, doing this reading or having done these readings, which I already know there's gonna be so many regrets of not putting up the natal chart on the screen and blah blah blah. You can look it up yourself on Astro Theme. But I was starting to I'm reading the charts that are online, and I was starting to contemplate including Orpheus, which halfway through to Virgo, I'm okay, let me change the entire format, which I might do that because the Chinese zodiac signs do get kind of repetitive. But as I told somebody once before, I was well, Orpheus or Fucus, it falls right in between Libra and Scorpio, and just complete shade and destruction. I was well, we can all admit that we met a Libra or a Scorpio that acts snake-like, so I don't think that anything's too far off. And I do feel Orpheus is more the shadow side of Scorpio anyway. But then also when you look at natal charts that include Orpheus, they put them both sort of together around the 7th and 8th house. And it's not to cause spatial issues. So I feel that is valid. But then also Orpheus, what I'm thinking or hypothesizing, what would Orpheus's meaning be in your chart? As I look at the 5th house as a house of obstacles and distractions, and the way that you overcome those obstacles and distractions is through the power of your 6th house. So as I'm like, okay, the 12th house makes you like utterly miserable. He makes himself miserable. Other Virgos make him miserable. People who read and study and do research, and he's miserable while he's reading and studying and doing his research. How would he heal that? Like, how does he like not just let that drive him into complete misery? I would say it has something to do with Orpheus because it's like a healer, like faith healing, snake venom. And there is no sign, I guess, exactly that would be his Orpheus sign that I'm looking at in this chart, but probably like something to do with like Aries and Taurus, like working, joining the military, being aggressive, yelling it out. So like if you see Idris Elba somewhere screaming into a book, he's not crazy. He's just, hates reading but also loves it. So that's been my quick look at Idris Elba's natal chart. I guess we should at least look up what his Chinese zodiac sign is and say it, even if I don't read too much about it. How are you guys doing? These videos have been a little bit quieter. I'm like filming in a new place, and there's like a huge fan or AC above me, which is funny because my other videos I kept wanting to have my fan on and I didn't, and I was like burning up in the heat so that I would have the best sound, and now I don't care anymore. So I hope you guys have like a speaker or can hear me well. So Mr. Elba, he falls under the Chinese zodiac sign of the rat, specifically the water rat for that year, symbolizing intelligence, adaptability, and ambition, matching his versatile career through some sources focused on his Western sign of Virgo. So I would see that. So a rat. I typically associate the rat with Sagittarius, but as I've said, probably maybe like literally 50 or 100 times so far, Chinese zodiac sign, it's Chinese zodiac, Western zodiac, J-Lo, Mariah Carey, they don't know each other, so there is no correlation. But it is said in one myth that I read quite recently, as I always assume the rat is like mean because he's a rat, is that the rat actually was riding on the ox's back while playing a flute, and he was like entertaining the ox as they were going through the Jade Emperor's race. And the Jade Emperor was like, that rat plays a flute so nice, we'll make him the first sign of the zodiac. Where other tales say that he like undercut the ox, like rode on the ox's back and then crossed the finish line like, at the last minute. So are rats good? Are they bad? Do they play flutes? I don't know. He plays a flute. He's a rapper. Okay, so thank you so much for listening, liking, sharing, and subscribing, and sharing this with your best friend who is a Virgo, or specifically a Virgo rising Libra, and you can tell them how you're going to be an amazing actor, and they're going to be a rapper, and they're going to fight their mom, and it's going to be great. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.